Hey, what's up, guys? It's Chad. Some know me as Chad, some know me as Charles. I also have KC here. So, KC,
Hello.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Casey. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. I'm a guy from Ohio. And here's the quote that I have that I hopefully will give you an idea of who I am. There is little success where there is little laughter, by Andrew Carnegie.
Where there's little laughter.
Yes.
So, one more time.
There is little success where there is little laughter.
There's little success where there's little laughter. Wow, that's
Yeah.
some powerful stuff. I mean, if you're not laughing and being joyful,
What's the point?
and that's a great segue, and welcome to all my listeners, our listeners, the Rabbit Hole Show. And we want to have, when we have like big rabbit hole moments, we want to have a song kind of that'll let you know, hey, here goes a rabbit hole moment.
Give us feedback.
Give us feedback on what songs you think, ideas, or so.
Or what sound? Should it be like an alarm, like a burn, 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 or should it be like a
Bugs Bunny kind of something.
Uh-oh, it's a rabbit hole moment.
I like that.
But we might clip that. Let us know if we should clip that and use that as the soundbite.
Yeah. Actually, no, I think we might just use that and not even ask, say, what do y'all think about the rabbit hole moment sound?
And then get feedback
And then get feedback on that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that was a rabbit hole moment right there.
And now we're landing the plane. Anyway. Yeah. So, but there's little success where there's little laughter. And that... Yeah, so back to the thing I was speaking on before the rabbit hole moment. See, we can land the plane.
We can land the plane.
We can.
Listen, we can land the plane, y'all.
And we're not going on a rabbit hole moment now, so don't worry.
We've got some questions that we got to answer, that Charles needs to answer.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you all about my childhood and how over the time, as life has gone on, and now I'm at a place where I can reflect on the past and not dwell on it, if that makes sense, which I hope it does. I want to talk about my childhood and the mask that I used. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Again, welcome to the very first Rabbit Hole Show. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina. Presby Hospital. Hoorah.
Presbya?
Presbyterian. Presby.
Presby?
Yeah. Yeah, you weren't born there, so you wouldn't know.
I don't know.
Apparently, I'm a unicorn since I was born here, since everyone has moved here from the north.
From Ohio.
You're from Ohio, that's right. A lot of people have come from the north.
Can I have a rabbit hole moment here, Charles, just to explain why we moved to Charlotte?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, here's my theory, Charles. It's because growing up in Ohio, all of us, when we had spring break or vacation, like during the summer or whatever, we would go to the beach in North or South Carolina. So you're like,
Because why? Because why? It was
the best
fun.
beaches.
There we go.
Beaches. It's the best beaches. I've been to the Pacific Coast.
How was it? Cold?
It was pretty cold.
How?
I'm not going. I have to wear a swimsuit. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to go to Folly Beach and hang out.
Folly Beach is fun.
And so, like,
How long was that car ride? Because that's also a fun part.
that's like a 9-hour drive, 9-10 hours depending on where you're going.
That's a fun
It's 7 hours
childhood.
from Columbus, Ohio to Charlotte.
Okay, those are fun car rides though.
Yeah.
By
yes.
moving down here, you cut that 9 hours.
So now it's only 3 hours to the beach, 3 hours to the mountains.
You're like 2 hours from the mountains.
True.
I mean, you can even go to Crowder's and you're right there.
True.
All right, good rabbit hole moment.
Rabbit hole moment.
Born Charlotte, North Carolina, Presbyterian Hospital. Came home to Laura Ann in Land Height, 2 loving parents, and a cat named Ginger. My mom loves cats. I'm a dog person, but I enjoy cats because I've grown up around them. April 2nd, 1991. So I missed April Fool's by, I think it was 37 minutes. As a kid, I'm glad I wasn't born April Fool's Day. But Duke and Kansas were playing the national championship, so the doctor was watching that game. I guess that's why I like playing basketball. And then there was someone who came in with a gunshot. So
On your birthday?
when I was being born.
Damn.
So, yeah, I had a double cul-de-sac. Kids the same age. My sister was born 2.5 years later. Her birthday's coming up in a couple weeks, actually. So happy early birthday to you, Laura Beth. Love you. She's a big supporter of me, and I wouldn't be here without her, my mom, dad, everyone who's listening. And that's just a blessing, It's been hard, but I'm here. God was with me every step of the way. I've been in places, situations, good, bad, and I'll unveil. I'll expand upon that as y'all get to know me and my stories. I want y'all to continue to listen. I don't want to give everything in the first episode, you know?
Come on, that's marketing 101.
And that would be hours of, you know.
We don't need that right now.
So, I went to Old Providence Elementary.
All right, so Charles, in elementary school, did you notice or do you think you started using any masks as like a coping mechanism or start hiding behind anything like that in elementary school?
I would say yes, because I was reflecting before I started recording and trying to figure out which way I wanted to go, and had some really good advice from some people last night.
Good friends and family.
Yeah, good friends and family, close ones. But yeah, second grade, we moved from Kirkstall to the Myers Park, South Park area where my parents are still at. So when we moved in, I think it was 98, my dad had his first heart episodes and he fainted or passed out at the bank, got up and fainted again and woke up in the ambulance.
Dang.
Second grade, so that was the first kind of scary moment. And since he was in such good shape, he used to run marathons. Like, that was one thing.
He took care of himself.
Yeah,
You gotta be prepared.
and now he's eating very healthy because nutrition plays a big part in your mental health, and that's something that we can dive into in another episode later on. But
if you're a nutritionist,
yeah,
or some-
nutritionist or someone
would.
would like to come on the show and talk, because I know there's the color wheel for your food you need to eat, and because some of the places I've had treatment at talk to you about nutrition and
They did.
how that does play a big factor in your mental health and your cognitive and
What you
your
think, your mood,
everything.
it's like the
your
Snickers
mood, everything.
commercial.
The Snickers commercial. Yes, give me a Snickers, or you need a Snickers.
He's just hangry.
Yes, and I've been hangry recently because I haven't been eating healthy. So
You're a
that's
little bit
something.
hangry last night.
So that's a little thing that I got to keep myself in check, and this podcast will allow me to kind of keep myself in check
And explore that more.
and
with-
explore
with
that
guests.
more with guests and different things. But if someone's nutritionist would love to be on the show, please come get in touch, and would love to have someone who knows about the nutritional facts and
The
how it.
the nutritional aspect of mental health.
Yep, excellent. So I would say yes, but it was more so in 7th grade. Like, I remember, like, I was scared. I didn't know what to do when
Because you're old enough, you're kind of going in adult mode where you're able to understand the information. Like, you understand, like, on paper what
Yeah.
the information is, but you don't know how to process it.
Exactly, but he was fine, came home from the hospital. Everything, I don't say was good, but he received a pacemaker. But I would say 7th grade or 6th grade was when, 6th grade, because I went to Carmel Middle School and was trying to be a cool kid and gave into
school.
peer pressure, talking about things I shouldn't be at that age.
Yeah.
Just different things like that. And
Pretty sure that's everybody's middle school experience.
I would agree. And I had
Not thinking about it.
I had a
to be honest.
band teacher, and it was a very traumatic year for there. I did peer mediation so I could get out of class, in band class, because I have ADD and would ask a lot of questions. And so if you know me, you know I do ask a lot of questions. But he...
Go off on rabbit holes.
Exactly, but he would make me, or allow me to ask one question per class period, and just, kind of abuse. And I was taking a look at a book I want to talk about in a little bit, not right now, but The Body Keeps the Score. Highly recommend it. I do not know how to pronounce the author's name. It's Bessel van der Kolk. I'll post it on my story.
Bessel van der Kolk. Hello, my name is Bessel van der Kolk.
Yes, so check out The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk, MD. So we're going to talk about mask and relationships from childhood. So we'll talk about that later. But 7th grade's when I switched from public school to private school. Went to Covenant Day School, and it didn't make it easier when the first loss I ever experienced happened November 22nd, 2003, when my grandfather died. And
First year in a new school,
Yep.
new friends, new atmosphere, and like first semester into the school year after you're getting adjusted, you have your grandfather die.
yeah.
In 7th grade.
And my dad and I were coming back from my basketball game in my grandfather's truck to drop it off, and came up on the hill and saw ambulances, fire trucks, and So that's when I started using mass to cope and deal with all that I had going on in my 7th grade mind at a new school. My close grandfather, because he's the only grandfather I ever knew. I unfortunately never met my mother's dad, but I've heard that me and him were kind of similar. So Grandy, I called him, was very special to me. But yeah, so we'll dive into that a little bit, but we're going to take a little break right now. So
hello and welcome to part 2 of episode 1 of the Rabbit Hole Show.
Welcome back, y'all.
We are here today to finish what we started in episode 1, part 1. We were talking with Charles about his childhood and some of his childhood experiences, where he comes from, and then where we ended in part 1, we were talking about your grandfather and him passing. Was it 7th grade?
Yes, 7th grade.
That was kind of the root or the source of kind of a lot of the ways that you learned how to deal with or cope with, kind of the root of a lot of the mass that you would use to handle stressful situations. So we're here in part 2 of episode 1 to kind of finish that tale, kind of just finish what we started here.
Yeah, so great recap and segue into part 2 of episode 1, discussing my childhood, some experiences and coping mechanisms, and just masks that I wore. Thought it'd be best to start with my childhood, a little intro of that, and kind of go throughout my entire life from start to where I'm at now. So 7th grade, I had transferred or switched from public school to private school, transferred to Covenant Day. But when my grandfather died and going to a new school, him and I were very close. I remember he always helped me with my boxwood derby cars that we did in RAs at church, Carmel Baptist Church, where I grew up. So just had a lot of special memories, and starting a new school, that was tough.
Your grandfather's death was the first kind of chink in your armor. You were good at school you're at. You liked that school that you went to, you have a lot of...
From Covenant Day, yes. But it was academically, it was a lot more challenging than public school, in my opinion. But I was good at sports, so I used that as a the reason why I wasn't good at school.
You're like, at least you're good at
sports. I would play into, oh yeah, I'm not smart. Just a lot of negative self-talk, which over time you start to believe that. So that was a mask that probably was one of my first masks. And I didn't want to show emotions, show people that I was hurting or weak. Now I've realized, after all I've been through, the different places I've been, therapists I've talked to, I just need to open up.
The value of vulnerability.
Yeah, the value of vulnerability. That was something I struggled with because of my pride. I didn't want to be seen as a weak kind of man. I wanted to be seen as someone who can take care of themselves. You're not going to push around. I'm good at sports, so don't try and one-up me. Because as life went on, a lot more things had happened, and I just kept stuffing and bottling my emotions to where you just blow up. And unfortunately, that happened more than one time. People have said, and I didn't believe at the time, it always gets worse. And I didn't believe that until reality kind of woke me up. God woke me up and said, this is the life you can live, or you can get it together and kind of live the way I've intended and you were raised. Okay. So, but something I wish I would have done is actually applied myself instead of being lazy and
coasting through.
Because I had ADHD and it was a struggle, and I always had to study harder and longer, I felt, than most people, and still would not get a good grade on the test, and it was just frustrating. And I wasn't on medicine in high school, and it was just very frustrating to not be able to focus and not excel. Like, I just couldn't retain information, but I had so many rabbit hole moments, and I would just venture off while studying or in class and not, or be tired. And
all symptoms of ADHD.
Yeah, a lot of it again goes back to nutrition, sleep, and just stimulating your mind and being able to release endorphins, just being outside. There's a lot of ways, but
what's been the biggest thing that's helped you with handling your ADD, like non-medication wise, or anything, like aside from all that? Like, what do you be like, oh, I'm feeling super random, super ADD, or like, what's one thing?
For me, one thing is just trying to use that energy in a positive way, like going to the gym, or
like we went golfing,
going golfing, or starting a podcast. But also, they're not taking on too many things to overwhelm yourself. Because I know for me, when I start something, I like to do it to my best of the ability, and sometimes that becomes becomes a little perfectionism, and it takes away from what I had originally intended. Then it becomes, it's not fun anymore. I'm not, so I lose interest. So that's a struggle. But being outside a lot for me has helped, playing basketball and golf. And just for me, I need at least 8 hours of sleep. I need it, or I'm not going to be able to function and I'll be grumpy. And
you're not a big coffee guy.
No, because I get hot very easily. So I do like the cold coffee drinks, but I'm not a big coffee drinker.
Yeah.
To each their own. You do you.
Hey.
So being at a new school was tough, but it being a smaller school and classroom sizes were smaller, it made it easier to deal with his death during school because I had comfort around me.
Yeah. You had the endorphin, the rush of making new friends, all that stuff. That makes sense.
Well, that and just it was easier to get to know them prior to his death. So I had and so I had friends that I had met that
could help you through it.
Exactly.
So you go through that. Like, when do you say you're in high school that you start either seeing consequences of some of the stuff that you're, like the masks or the coping mechanisms that you're using, or where do you see it starting to realize, like, oh no, I don't think I'm not dealing with this properly? But I mean, because you know how it goes, you can recognize it, but then also you're like, I don't know, you don't know what to do with it.
Junior year, that's when school started. I mean, it was always hard for me in high school, but the ADD, I wasn't able to coast through per se, and got in trouble for cheating, plagiarism, and I didn't think it was a big deal because it wasn't an actual paper, and I was in the hospital having my first ankle reconstruction, and I turned in the wrong paper because we watched a movie and had to answer questions, and I missed half the movie. Now looking back, yes, I should have watched the rest of the movie in the hospital or talked to my teacher instead of asking another peer for his questions and copying them. And me being careless, I turned in his paper on the server. That's how we turned in classwork and stuff, and got called out of class, got a 0 on that, which really affected my grade. And my dad made me wait a year to get my driver's license. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that was the first time I had suffered consequences. And then moving into college, because I had started drinking, and
like most high schoolers do in junior high school, you're going to parties, yada yada.
Yeah, and it was fun, and kind of used that as an escape the weekends. And going to college, I went to Gardner Webb to play basketball, but was injured because of my ankle and didn't play. Had fun being away from home, but it was a suitcase school, and they even advertised it that way. But it was a great academic school, but there just wasn't much going on there.
So you needed the social aspect of it.
Yeah, and I just wanted a college experience, and for me, I wasn't going to get that at Gardner Webb. Life would have been different if I would have stayed there, but I didn't. Met a lot of great friends and close friends still to this day at App State, but it was not easy.
Because you went from Gardner Webb to App State.
Correct. So, I mean, it was not easy that first semester. I didn't know many people, but I loved App, had a good experience, graduated from there with a BS, and it was tough because school was hard for me. I was away from home, could do whatever I wanted, and also there was other things that I was dealing with. But I would say my senior year is when something traumatic happened that I dealt with in a negative way, and that's something we can talk about later on. But I became a different person because I didn't know how to cope with that, and that's kind of where my life kind of did a 180. So we'll take a break for now and then come back and talk more.
All right. Part 2 of episode 1 of the Rabbit Hole Show. And where we left off before we took our break, Charles was just talking about some of his college experiences at App, how he kind of made it through there and had some experiences that kind of changed his perspective and the way he treated and lived life. Is there anything you want to say, about the remaining time of college, kind of the transition out, or?
Yeah, in college, I was a funny, outgoing guy, but struggled with school, and that gave me a lot of anxiety. I always have had anxiety because of school, and it stressed me out and just never felt like I was enough. Being from Myers Park in Charlotte, North Carolina, felt like everyone had it together and life just seemed easy, and for me it was just struggle after struggle, I felt like, till I realized that I haven't been using my full potential and how I need to make life best for me. And how am I going to do that? Well, I know I need sleep, need to eat healthy, stimulate my mind, be around like-minded people, work out, and I wasn't doing that in college. I was just there to have fun and kind of escape.
And taking it for granted a little bit.
Definitely taking it for granted. There's a lot more I could have done in my time at Gardner Webb and at App. Another big thing is I never wanted to have a girlfriend in college. I was scared I wasn't going to be enough for her, that I would fail the relationship. Just a lot of negative self-talk. Up until recently, I'm 30 years old, April 2nd of 91.
Just April Fool's by day.
Yep, no, 37 minutes, but technically a day, yes. Rabbit hole moment. Yeah, so I just was this funny, charismatic guy who wasn't perceived to be smart, or that's how I thought people viewed me, and so I believed it.
And leaned into it.
And made fun of myself even, and didn't believe I could become someone worthy. Yeah, a lot of self-esteem issues and trust issues, and just because of a lot of events that have happened, a lot of deaths, I just felt like everyone was going to leave me. I've lost a lot of friends over the last 10 years, and that's my fault, and I've reached out, to make amends, but I can only do what I can do for myself, and I know my intentions are true. In the past, they haven't always been. Not saying I believed that I was doing them with those intentions, but looking back, the way I was behaving,
you see it.
Yeah, definitely. And pride's been an issue of mine over the years, and I finally have been able to work on that. And it's okay to admit when you're wrong and to listen, to be able to learn rather than talk. And that's something I've really had to work on, is just listening. And since I do like to talk, why not do a podcast? At least it'll be record, and hopefully someone will listen to it and it can help someone. That's all I want to do.
If anything, this is your record of your life here.
Exactly.
Out on the internet forever.
Exactly. And
aliens might look at it.
If they're real.
Is that a topic?
No, definitely not.
No aliens?
No.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah. But life is too short, and it's too precious to not live life to the fullest, because you never know when your life can change. And that's happened to me several times. And the God I believe in has been with me every step of the way, even when I didn't think anybody was with me. There have been very dark days, but I'm happy I'm here, and I want to share my story. So again, we can discuss more of mask and childhood and teenage years. Please feedback. And I also want to mention again, the body keeps the score. Brain, mind, and body in the healing of trauma. And everyone's trauma is different, y'all. It doesn't have to be something that is on the 11 o'clock news.
It's like Jesus said, and I'll cut this out, but like a primer, like Jesus said, a sin. What's the difference between thinking about murder and doing a murder? He says it's the same. It's still the same sin, but he covers that blood there. So can that same concept be applied to trauma? Where it's like, yes, there's varying degrees of it. Yes, murder technically, like you actually killed a person. Mm-hmm. But he's talking about like this, like the spirituality piece of it. But like, okay, just because your trauma is differently and not necessarily on the same level, like there's differences between like domestic violence and the things that like I've been through, and my story versus your story. And like, but that doesn't mean that the trauma or the same emotions or feelings aren't experienced.
Correct.
Kind of speaking into that.
Yeah, and that's a great kind of summary of this book. Everyone's trauma is different, but we all deal with it because there's stages of grief, and that's another topic we can talk about. And your body does keep the score, whether it's physical, emotional, mental.
You carry it.
Your past is with you, and it's something that you can't escape, erase. It's there.
It's a memory. It's recorded in your brain.
Yes.
In your body, however. I mean, you have an injury.
And my body has several scars, battle wounds, physically. I have severe arthritis in my right wrist. Eventually I have to have surgery on that again. But all my body scars, aches, all the memories, experiences, emotional, mental things I've been through. I mean, yeah, they weighed me down for a while, and some of you have seen me break down. It's very rare, but I'm not dwelling on the past. I'm able to reflect on the past, and I want to share my life experiences with all my listeners and this community I want to make. So please, I want, Casey to share his story. I want others to share their story and use this as a platform for people to have a voice. I always felt alone. We're still going to make mistakes, but if you get up the next day and you keep moving on and you learn from that mistake and don't repeat it, life goes on and you're going to be fine. I can promise you that from my life experiences.
So many people are misunderstood.
Yes, because people want to seem like they have it together and they're scared to open up, or at least I did. And I can speak for some people who I know closely, they would agree. But yeah, I want this. I'm just using this to share my story, life experiences, and tips and things I've learned from the different treatment centers, hospitals, places I've been, people I've met, just a lot of stories I have that I want to share and be able to reach people and help people. And yeah,
Get it out there, spread
just
the word.
get it out there. So again, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And I did tag this book and the author on Instagram at _rabbit_hole_show on Instagram. So go check out this book. It's a great book. It talks about everything you can imagine. So this book talks about the rediscovery of trauma. You have lessons from Vietnam veterans, revolutions in understanding mind and brain, even neuroscience, looking into the brain. This is your brain on trauma and the effects, fight, flight, or freeze, and how you deal with from childhood trauma, from abuse relationships. This book is a good book for all ages, people, no matter where and what stage of life you're in.
If you can read, you could read this book.
And it definitely has helped me. I can't remember. I think I got this at the ranch in Tennessee. Definitely go check this book out and let me know what you think of it. Guys, look forward to all the feedback. I want to make this, again, a place where you can be open and feel safe, and just my life and the struggles I've had, and just use this as a platform to reach others who are in need and struggling. Because at some point in our life, I believe,
Or just want perspective from someone else.
Correct.
You wanna listen to someone else's life story.
Yeah.
You're just talking about it.
and I'll release certain events that have happened as time goes on, but definitely want to have feedback and questions. So y'all, as we come to a close of part 2 of episode 1, just want to thank y'all. For our listeners, please spread the word. Go and check us out on Instagram, and that's _rabbit_hole_show. We've never done podcasts before, but I want my voice and story to be heard. Or shoot us a message on there. Let us know y'all's thought, feedback, changes. So thank y'all again, and look forward to episode 2 coming out soon. So stay tuned, and thank you. Have a great one.